Very good morning. You're watching FYI. I'm Rishika Barwa. According to the United Nations, the coronavirus has cost global tourism, the entire industry, $460 billion losses in the January to June period. Travel and tourism has been among the worst hit sectors as a result of the pandemic and the lockdown. Also, it is likely to take the longest perhaps to recover and bounce back on its feet. Now, while essential travel has picked up pace in several parts of the world, including here in India, is it really safe to get back into holiday mode? Now, we know that's a question that's playing on a lot of people's minds. So on FYI today, we deal with the crisis in the tourism industry, what's happening in different parts of India, and how has the pandemic changed the way we travel? More importantly, is it safe to travel in the midst of the Covid-19 pandemic? Where should you go? What should you do? And we'll also break down information for you on what's happening in different parts of India. Now, for instance, let's give you a state-wise breakup. A lot of states have changed the way tourism happens. Himachal Pradesh, for instance, has no restrictions imposed anymore. Neither does Uttarakhand, for instance. Goa, which mandated a COVID test not very long ago, has also facilitated interstate travel. Darjeeling, for instance, is open to tourism. Rajasthan, however, has no travel restrictions in place. But in Kerala, there is still nothing open for tourists. Sikkim is also going to be opening up for tourists from the 10th of October. So these are, of course, some of the popular travel destinations and the rules and regulations that currently exist in these places. But like I said, the impact of COVID-19 on the tourism sector has been immense. There have been no foreign tourists since the 22nd of March. The CII estimates that the travel and tourism industry may lose 5 lakh crore rupees just here in India. So we'll of course try and break down the details of what travel in 2020 or the remaining part of 2020 is going to look like. But let's get you a sense of what's happening on the ground. And let's take you first to the beaches of Kerala. We can't physically go there, but let's take you there on the show this morning, where tourism usually contributes to around 10% of the state GDP. This is Kerala that we're talking about. But the pandemic has dealt a huge blow. There's, remember, no domestic or international tourist that has actually entered Kerala for months. The road to recovery is going to be a long one, with people who are hesitant to travel, shops and restaurants that are open across the state but closed on the beach side. My colleague Sneha filed this report.
We're coming to you from the beautiful Kovalam. This is the beach that Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala prides itself with. Usually would have been bustling with action, with tourists, whether it be from India or even abroad, but no one absolutely seen here. To give you a reality check, these are the shops, lines of shops and restaurants that usually would have been bustling with activity. Nothing of that seen here. In fact, these shops, these restaurants, all have been closed, and primarily because even though Kerala has gone ahead and allowed for restaurants to be open, that impact not seen in this particular lane, primarily because this is a tourism specific area, and that is something which Kerala has not been seen due to the pandemic. Tourism has taken a major fall. We're being joined right now by a set of people who are on duty at the beach. Puduve engane peru parayu? Mahendra. Puduve enganathe oru avastha ivide aalkar vararundo?
Ippo ivide aarum varunilla. Karanam vechal inganathe oru pinne peramari nammalku oru asugam vannadonde aarum varunilla. Pedichittayirikkan varathathu.
So no one is really coming outside. Maybe they are coming because they are not coming because they are scared, they are worried, but no one really coming out. ഇവിടെ ഈ ഹോട്ടൽസ് ഒക്കെ എല്ലാം അടച്ചിരിക്കും അല്ലേ? ഒന്നും വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല.
ഒന്നും വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നില്ല, എല്ലാം ഫുൾ അടച്ചിരിക്കുകയാണ്. അതായത് ഒന്നും ഇവിടെ ജനം ഇല്ലാത്തതുകൊണ്ടാണ്, ആരും വരാത്തതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അവർ തുറക്കാത്തത്. വെറുതെ അവർ തുറന്നു വെച്ചിരുന്നിട്ടും കാര്യമില്ല.
ഈ തൊഴിലാളിക്കൊക്കെ പൈസ എന്തെങ്കിലും ശമ്പളം കൊടുക്കണമെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ വരുമാനം വേണം. വരുമാനം ഇല്ലാതെ എന്ത് ചെയ്യും?
So he's saying because people are not coming, there is no point of keeping these shops open. If our camera person can pan and show Even the people who would be employed, they have to be paid, but there's no revenue, there's no income. So how would they be paid? So practically everything has been shut down.
Well, from Kerala, let's now shift our focus to Rajasthan. Jaipur, remember, is one of the prime tourism destinations for a lot of tourists, especially who come from abroad, as well as tourists from different parts of the country. What's it like in Jaipur? Remember, Rajasthan is also opening up for tourism. What's it like in Jaipur? There are a lot of people who are actually complaining of an extra municipal tax that is being levied at a time when they're already battling with the aftermath of the pandemic.
वर्तमान में नगर निगम द्वारा यात्री कर पर्यटन व्यवसाय पर लगाया है, उसके विषय में मेरे को सिर्फ यही कहना है, जहाँ एक तरफ पर्यटन व्यवसाय मदप्राय है, वहाँ ऊपर से आप ये इस तरह का कर लगा के क्या जताना चाहते हैं? अगर आपको रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट करनी है तो इसके बहुत से साधन हैं, आप उसके माध्यम से कलेक्ट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन जिस समय आपने ये यात्री कर लगाया है ये अनुचित है। वर्तमान में अगर आप उदयपुर शहर को देखें तो पर्यटन मदप्राय हो चुका है और आने वाला समय अक्टूबर से हम ये उम्मीद करते हैं कि पर्यटन व्यवसाय अच्छा चलने की उम्मीद करते हैं। हम ये चाहते हैं कि क्यों न आपकी जो सड़कें इस समय इतनी खराब स्थिति में हैं उनको आप सुचारू कर सकें, हर दृष्टि से आप पर्यटन को बढ़ावा दें।
सरकार को तो इस पे और कोई रियायत देनी चाहिए थी, क्योंकि होटल व्यवसाय पिछले 6 महीने से इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिल, स्टाफ के खर्चे अपनी जेब से दे रहा है, और जब बिजनेस चालू होने के आसार चालू हुए हैं तो ये यात्री कर लगा के नगर निगम ने होटल व्यवसाय को एक तरह से हम कहेंगे कि उसको समाप्त करने वाली स्थिति पैदा कर दी है।
और जो 10,000 रुपये खर्च कर रहा है प्रैक्टिकली, तो उसके ऊपर अगर 500 रुपया और किराया नगर निगम को देना पड़ता है, तो मेरे ख्याल 10,000 वाले आदमी पे 500 रुपया तो कोई, और सबसे पहली बात है 3,000 है, उससे कम कोई है ही नहीं है। तो उदयपुर में मोस्टली जो होटल्स हैं वो कौन सी हैं? मेरे ख्याल है कि 3,000 या उससे कम वाली होटल्स तो शायद 90% होगी, ये मेरा विचार है।
Well, from Rajasthan, let's take you to Agra, where, remember, the Taj Mahal has opened its doors for tourists once again. There are, of course, a whole host of rules and regulations that govern the reopening of the Taj. Listen in.
17 मार्च से जब से लॉकडाउन हुआ है और आज 21 सितंबर का जो ताजमहल खुला है, इस अप्रॉक्सीमेटली मोर देन 6 मंथ्स इसको हो चुके हैं, और हमारे पर्यटन उद्योग को इसमें बहुत बड़ा झटका लगा है, क्योंकि सारे पर्यटन उद्योग बंद थे। रिक्शा, स्कूटर से लेकर ट्रैवल एजेंट्स, रेस्टोरेंट, होटल्स, एम्पोरियम सभी बंद थे, और इसमें हमको 200 करोड़ से ऊपर का घाटा हो चुका हुआ है। और अभी ये ताजमहल जो 21 सितंबर को खुल तो गया है, पर इसमें कोई पर्यटक बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं आएंगे। कोई डोमेस्टिक पर्यटक आएगा वो 1-2% के अप्रॉक्सीमेटली होगा। जब तक इंटरनेशनल फ़्लाइट्स नहीं स्टार्ट की जाती हैं, सारी ट्रेन्स को सुचारू रूप से नहीं चालू किया जाता है, तब तक पर्यटन उद्योग को कोई फ़ायदा होने वाला नहीं है।
आगरा का जो पर्यटन है वो पूरी तरह से ताजमहल के ऊपर निर्भर है। तो जब ताजमहल बंद था, लोगों में काफ़ी मायूसी थी। अब ये खुला है, लोगों में फिर से एक खुशी की, हर्ष की लहर आई है, और उम्मीद है कि जल्दी ही जैसे जैसे धीरे धीरे गवर्नमेंट हमारी इंटरनेशनल ट्रैवलर्स को अलाउड करेगी आना, और जितनी भी जो फ़्लाइट्स हैं वो इंटरनेशनल फ़्लाइट से आना शुरू होंगी, तो उसके बाद में फिर से कुछ महीनों में सारी चीज़ें पुराने ढर्रे पे लौट आएंगी।
All right, we have with us a very special panel today. We have Dr. Ravindra Mehta. He is the Chief of Critical Care and a pulmonologist from the Apollo Hospitals in Bangalore. We have Ankur Bhatia, the Executive Director of the Bird Group. He's a part of the Rosette Hotels and Resorts. We have Vaishnavi, who is a travel blogger, joining us from Bengaluru. We also have Vinayak Kaul, who is the Secretary of the Adventure Tour Operators of India. Thank you all very much for being with us. Dr. Mehta, I want to begin this conversation by asking you, because I think anybody who has travel on their mind would perhaps first want to consult with their doctor as well. And we'll get to the health of the tourism industry in just a bit. But let's just begin by asking you, is it safe to travel at this moment? What is it that the doctor recommends? Because, I mean, it is important for people to take a break. There are several people who haven't traveled or taken a break from their city life in a long time. What would you recommend that people do at a time like this?
Yeah, so it's a lovely question, and it's coming at the time of the biggest paradox that we can see. If you go back and look at history, which is so important to guide us, we went into lockdown and we stopped everything voluntarily, willingly, happily, and with full cooperation. And of course, state pushed also. Now what's happening is we're seeing the full-blown pandemic in our heads. Numbers are peaking. We're going to overtake America is our concern. And now we're saying we got to start normal life. So it is a paradox of COVID-19 which we have to face.
Correct.
Now let us look at the practicalities of life. Practicalities are we have to move on now. There is no way that anything we can do is going to now mitigate the fact that some attempt to make baby steps towards major steps towards normalcy have to come in.
Yes.
So the next question is mandated travel versus elective travel. What you very nicely were presenting before we all got on is elective travel, which is the apex of as close to normalcy as you can get. That's going to take some time.
Right.
I mean, everyone wants to go for their vacation and so on and so forth, but mandated travel is the first thing. I got to travel for work, I have to travel for a sick one or whatever the case may be. Elective travel, unfortunately, is going to take time. The only semblance of that I have seen is these staycations. You know, there are a lot of people are advertising, in, for example, in Karnataka, you have these Bandipurs and Chikmagalurs and all that.
Yes.
Come here, we'll give you widely spaced places. All our employees are in, PP and so on and so forth, and we'll give you something which is probably safer than your house right now. And so that's happening a lot.
Right.
In terms of making it a general concept, very intimidating and very challenging. We'll have to first go through the baby steps of essential travel, test the waters, see how it goes. A personal level, be safe, society is safe, systems are safe. So between the need, you and the environment, a certain safety has to be established with a comfort level before leisure travel starts.
But if I can just interrupt you there, Dr. Mehta, you said that there are staycations that have actually now picked up, with several locations advertising homestays or, more intimate personal spaces with staff that is, say, in PPEs or COVID-19 protocols that are managed. What are the boxes that you would check? If you were to, go on a holiday with your family, what are the boxes that you would check?
Yeah, so the interesting part is, three aspects of it. Do I need to go? Okay, we're deciding we want to go for leisure travel. Two, what is my level of precaution? What is this? What can the place give me? Places are gear up. Understand it's a two-way process. They are just as afraid of getting COVID from you or the employees as you are afraid of getting COVID from them. We have to understand that. The day we understand that, we can do something together.
Yes.
The day we look for the next guy as being criminal and us being pure and, and perfect, we're not going to get anywhere. So to cut a long story short, they're doing everything. I think they're doing by the book. Facility management is more than what we can see. If I can take 30 seconds more, I've seen people spraying my feet when I walk in. My feet don't need to be sprayed. No one's going to get COVID through my feet, right? Okay. So facilities are doing their job, they're advertising it. We have to do our job of making sure that we follow mask, social distancing and all that sort of sanitization.
Okay.
And I think baby steps are very much possible.
Baby steps and, literally going back to the basics, which is what I think every doctor has reiterated on a daily basis on several shows here on NDTV, is that you just have to wear your mask, sanitize your hands and maintain that 6 feet distance, because it is prevention that is better than cure. And I think it's a very, Ankur Bhatia, you'd probably agree with what the doctor said. I want to come to you because, life has to go on with no definitive timelines in sight of when we'll have a vaccine. Whether the vaccine is going to be a short prevention against COVID-19, one has to, in a certain sense, embrace what is the new normal. What are some of the precautions that you've put in place to inspire the confidence of travelers?
Thank you, and thank you, doctor, as well. I think you rightly said life has to go on. A lot of people have been in lockdown or in their homes and not been traveling out. Smaller spaces, work from home environment as well. We've been from Rosier Hotels and Resorts been working ourselves over this pandemic as well. I mean, even when there was a lockdown, completely, we had guests stay over. So we've had ample amount of experience in the standard operating procedures is what we've had. So I mean, several things from checking Arogya Setu, temperatures at multiple points, or people getting into the hotels when they're making even when they're making reservations for the staycations into our hotels as well. So we do a lot of checks in their travel history as well. And we want all the guests in all the common areas around the hotel to be wearing masks. That's across all our 3 hotels, the 2 in New Delhi and the 1 in Rishikesh as well. Right. It is only when they are seated on their tables is when we request them to, obviously they have to remove their masks for eating. Yes. In the other areas of the hotel, whatever the common areas are, we encourage them to wear a mask.
Yes.
All our staff are NPPs. All our staff are.
Right. Okay. I think it's interesting that you list out several of those measures, but I want to just understand from you, Ankur Bhatia, are you seeing a slight change as far as the numbers are concerned? Are more people now perhaps gathering the courage to travel again or say book hotel stays again?
Yes, definitely. We are seeing all of that trends happening again.
Okay.
So as of now, I mean, all our hotels, the Delhi hotels particularly, used to depend a lot upon international tourists.
That's right.
They are not coming in, of course. So we have a very light week, and over the weekends, all our hotels are getting full. That's because obviously people want to come out for staycations. They want to come out, check in on a Friday, check out on a Monday morning.
Right.
We are seeing that trend happening, and I think it's going to carry on for the next couple of months.
Okay.
I think that
Vinayak, if I can bring you into the conversation, there's also a feeling that outdoor tourism is going to perhaps be, more preferred as opposed to a hotel staycation. What's the sense that you get? Do you believe more people are now going to opt for treks or outdoor campsites, perhaps things that are that look relatively safer in times of a pandemic? Are you seeing a slight shift towards more outdoorsy, adventure-driven activities?
See, there are many aspects to it. The thing is, first of all, the situation overall is very grim. Let me be very frank about it.
Yes, of course.
So yes, outdoor activities, adventure tourism is the answer, wherein you have social distancing by default, and people are out there in the nature. And in the last 6 months, people have realized how important it's to stay fit and things like that. So people are looking forward to that. But there is huge dilemma which comes to everybody's mind day in and day out, whether they have waited for this long, for 6 months, will it be good for them to travel now, or should they wait for some more time?
Yes.
Like the doctor was just saying, cases are increasing, which is true. Earlier we were hearing only in the news some figures. Now we have friends, family, cousins, people around.
Well,
you.
everybody knows somebody who's contracted the infection, unfortunately.
Absolutely. So the dilemma is playing on everybody's mind day in and day out. On one fine day, they are frustrated at home and they want to go out on a holiday, and then they speak to someone and then they get back to their state of mind. Maybe it's not good. So yes, adventure tourism is the answer, no doubt about it. But the situation is grim. If you ask me, some hotels are doing some decent business. I'm sure Ankur also will say he's not doing full occupancy, or maybe it's not helping him, giving all the revenues to sustain.
I think what's also important. What's also important is messaging. And Vaishnavi, you're a travel blogger. You communicate, with people on a daily basis about travel, and I'm sure you're communicating about travel in a pandemic as well. Do you believe that it's important to send out the right message? Brands need to communicate about the steps that they're taking. But you know how it works. If you know of people who've undertaken successful travel during the time of a pandemic, they've come back safe and sound, they're all right, it would perhaps embolden you to take the step as well. What's the sense that you get? How have the rules of the game changed in the midst of this pandemic?
See, like, pandemic has hit everyone differently, but longing to go back to our regular lives is the same in everyone's heart.
Yes.
So yeah, we as influencers have visited different properties to make sure how the current situation is there in different properties or resorts.
Right.
But I think all the properties I visited last month or like 2 weeks back, they have taken all the measures to ensure that everyone's safe in and around them. Because as much as we want to be safe, even they want us to be safe. Like, they are also putting everything
and
to
the
risk.
Safety and health of their staff depends on the safety and health of the customer as well. Like the doctor said at the very outset, they're taking the precautions because they don't want you to contract the infection. At the same time, they don't want to be getting it from you either.
Very true. The steps they have taken shook me. Why? Because they're not even letting other guests or normal people come in. Only people who have booked and who have Arogya Setu app. And all those, they are taking a very strict action. But seeing that the way they have taken the nature, everything, in Coorg or Kabini, they are maintaining distances. Also, they are ensuring that they don't have buffet system. They always go to a la carte so that they serve us. So, and the table distance, everything is maintained.
Yes. So new rules of engagement. The other question, Dr. Mehta, that I want to ask you is, a lot of doctors recommend that, drive to a nearby location, take your own car, undertake a road trip as opposed to, getting on a flight. Do you think air travel is still something that is not recommended? Because more and more people are taking flights for work, etc. Some people are even taking flights for leisure and to travel. And the trend perhaps has picked up more, in Europe or in different parts, even of America, if I can say so. But it does appear that people in India are still reluctant. Do you think that's a good thing? Take your car and go, don't take a flight. What would you recommend?
See, I think it's the stages of the pandemic. So like you said, Europe is ahead of us. They got the pandemic before us. They're trying to limp back to normalcy before us. So ultimately, this has to start. And I was just thinking of a nice catchy phrase. I think a collaborative COVID care corridor, wherever you want to go.
Yes.
If you can create that between your beginning point and your end point, and everyone is trying to do it. This is the one time in the history of the universe I see a single solidarity, full-fledged collaborative attempt to make sure people are safe and happy.
Yes.
Air travel in the right situation, it can be done. I would leave two simple messages. I think a lot of the areas, because we forget that we are actually not doing it ourselves. We tend to take our mask down. We tend to keep putting our hands over there and so on and so forth. COVID goes through this part of the body. If we can follow that, facilities are doing their bit, air travel is doing their bit. I think limping back in an organic, healthy way is very
everyone
possible.
seems to be doing their bit. It's people that really need to step in and do their bit as well. Vinayak, you wanted to come in.
I just wanted to complete what I was saying because I just wanted to give an overview. See, when I said the situation is grim, that is something which we all know. I do appreciate that almost all the panelists are wishing to be positive, and which is true. And I just heard that people are, I have some friends all across the country who have opened hotels, and then we share the documents which they are working on. So everybody who has opened has opened with full responsibility.
Right.
So whoever is getting courage to travel, let me assure them they all are very safe when they're traveling with responsible tour operators, responsible hotels. But let me just reiterate the situation that it's some odd hotels, some odd facilities somewhere are not representing the whole tourism industry. Talk about a tour operator, say the vacations and the other holidays which people are taking at the moment. They're picking up their cars, moving on to a hotel. There's no money which tour operators or a transport company or a guide is making. So the larger fraternity is still very, very
well, like we said at the very outset, Vinayak, I think we agree that tourism has taken among the biggest hits as far as the different sectors are concerned, and perhaps will take the longest to recover as well.
Getting back to the positive side, I would say yes, whoever wishes to travel, there are very safe operators, very safe hotels who are there.
Well, that's very reassuring to hear. Yes.
Correct.
And of course, the rules of the game have changed. And I think it's been very, very well put by all of you that the rules of the game have changed. You have to ensure that you do your due diligence. You check your boxes before you book travel. But for how long, are you going to not travel? So at some point in time, people are going to have to gather the courage. They are going to have to take breaks. So, take all the precautions, but do take that break, because there are several people out there, who are doing everything in their power to ensure that they're safe, and therefore they keep you safe as well. I want to, end this broadcast by, going across to the northeast. We've taken you to different tourism destinations. Sikkim is preparing to open up for tourists from the 10th of October. Here are some of the precautions in place.
The government of Sikkim is planning to open up tourism industry from 10th of October, and the meetings in the past was there with the Honorable Chief Minister of Sikkim, and under his guidelines, the tourism industry is looking forward to welcome the guest to Sikkim. Of course, considering the guidelines of the COVID, the government has laid the SOP for the travelers and also for the service providers and the tourism stakeholders, hoteliers and restaurant owners and transporters also to follow the strict guidelines of SOP. The guest, they have to have the COVID-19 certificate, from any hospital in order to visit Sikkim. And also that they need to apply their tour plan well in advance with any of the tourism service providers in Sikkim, and thereby they should have a predefined program in hand, as and when they enter to travel to Sikkim for tourism purposes. It is very crucial for Sikkim to open up the tourism industry, because tourism is one of the vibrant industry and also one of the only economic building activity and the industry in Sikkim. A lot of people, about 2 lakhs plus people, are dependent indirectly or indirectly or directly on tourism activity, be it the hoteliers, the guides, the trekking agencies, the restaurant owners, the transporters, to homestay owners, to the ancillary industry and wayside service providers, to the guides, to everyone that supports the growth of the tourism industry in Sikkim.
Well, we've hoped to give you information on what tourism in different parts of the country is currently looking like, where you can and cannot go, and also the SOPs as well as the doctor's advice. We'll continue to get you more stories that matter on FYI. Keep watching.